It's been particularly heavy over the past couple of days, and it seems to have escalated in the past 24 hours. Although it's difficult to tell because the terrain is so rocky and it's very difficult to gain access into the area to see exactly what's going on, but my sources say it is escalating.
Is that a factor? You'd think that the might of the Indian Army and the Air Force would be able to dislodge these so-called infiltrators quite easily, but that's not the case. It is very difficult terrain.
It is very difficult, and India has been playing up its warlike rhetoric, if you like, ever since this started, and has consistently maintained that it's winning this latest conflict, round in the conflict, because of course this is a conflict that's been going on for years and years, but it doesn't seem to be actually able to get a hand, as it were, on what it calls these infiltrators.
What of the American pressure for dialogue between Pakistan and India? Well, will that lead to will that bear fruit?
It's difficult to tell at the moment. India's always maintained that it doesn't want a third party involved, that this is a local dispute between itself and Pakistan. Pakistan is maintaining that it has no control over these infiltrators, as India refers to them. So it's difficult to know what sort of influence it might have.
But America is calling on Pakistan for the infiltrators to withdraw. That surely is a tacit acceptance by America, at least, that Pakistan does have some control over these people.
Well, for America perhaps, but it doesn't mean that Pakistan will necessarily agree with it. The two sides have talked before about this, and we just don't know yet what might happen.
So the basis of a potential agreement seems to be the question of safe passage, rather than letting them come out under Indian artillery or anything like that. It simply is that any compromise would centre on some sort of safety guarantee. It
could be. It could well be that. I mean, both sides will want to look as though they've won. So yes, if the infiltrators were allowed to return safely without the threat from India bombing, then that might be one solution.
Mr. Markham, thanks very much indeed for coming in. Thank you. Liz.
You're watching BBC News, coming to you from BBC Westminster. A reminder of our main news at this hour. A group of 39 Russian peacekeepers, the first of an expected 3,600 troops, have now been authorized to be on their way to Kosovo. And politicians in Northern Ireland are considering a formula put forward by the British Prime Minister Tony Blair to break the deadlock over arms decommissioning. And now some news just in. We understand that 100 school children have been taken to a hospital in Antwerp to be treated for food poisoning, a Belgian government spokesman has said. Beef is suspected to be the cause of the food poisoning. The Belgian government has ordered retailers to clear their shelves of all beef products. We'll bring you more on that story as soon as we get it. But now I understand we do have on the line someone who can tell us about that story. Joe Flo is joining us on the line. Joe, exactly how serious is the food poisoning?
Well, at the moment we have no real confirmation of the condition of these children. We believe around 10 are in a serious state and are being treated in intensive care.
And does it seem clear that it is beef that has caused this poisoning?
Well, once again, the Belgian government here aren't saying exactly what caused the beef. They say they don't know yet, but these children were at a school barbecue in the town of Antwerp, and it does appear that the main item at that barbecue was beef. So as a precaution, the Belgian government has ordered all shops to strip their shelves of any beef product at all.
It's not looking very good for Belgium, is it indeed? This is the third very important food scare in less than a month.
That's right, the third food crisis in as many weeks, really. Last week we had the Coca-Cola scandal when children once again in northern Belgium were taken to hospital after drinking cans of Coca-Cola and other soft drinks. And the week before that we had the revelation that chicken and dairy products had been contaminated with a cancer-causing chemical, dioxin. That crisis almost brought down the government and is thought to have led to the demise of Jean-Luc Dehaene, the Belgian Prime Minister.
So what do we expect to be the political impact of this latest scandal then?
Well, this scandal is hitting the new government that's just taken office. They're going to have to completely reassess the food safety situation in Belgium. Last week at the G8 summit in Cologne, we had a call for a worldwide food safety agency. Belgium is thought to be supporting that move, but at the moment they need to look at their domestic situation with a matter of urgency.
The governments across Europe have already expressed concern about these food scandals in Belgium. Have we had any reaction yet from across Europe?
Well, the French are thought to be about to announce a ban on Belgian beef products in their supermarkets. You'll remember they were very quick to ban Coca-Cola as soon as that scandal hit Belgium, and we're thought to be getting some kind of emergency reaction from the European Commission. They're thought to be meeting in the next couple of hours to decide exactly what action to take on a Europe-wide basis.
And Joe, it must be becoming very difficult indeed to eat or drink in Belgium.
Well, certainly that's the perception of many shoppers. This has done nothing at all for confidence in the food that they buy, despite the fact that an awful lot of food is perfectly safe. People are throwing away things that they bought last month, wondering what exactly they can feed, especially to their children, that won't do them any harm.
Joe, thank you very much for joining us from Brussels. We'll have more on that story later. Clarence.
Lise, thank you very much indeed. If you're just joining us, a word of explanation for the slightly different surroundings today. BBC News is being transmitted to you from BBC Westminster. That's because within the last hour or so, building workers close to the BBC's news centre in West London have found what's believed to be an unexploded World War II bomb. The area has been evacuated and bomb disposal experts are trying to make it safe. BBC staff have been evacuated from the news centre, and that's why this emergency bulletin has been brought to you from Westminster. We hope to resume regular programming as soon as we can. For now, though, more international news. High-level delegations from South and North Korea have held 2 hours of talks in Beijing 4 days after an initial meeting between them broke down without progress. They've agreed to meet again next week. The talks are the first between the two governments in more than a year. The South Korean side told reporters that the North had agreed to begin discussing the central issue of reuniting families separated by the Korean War nearly 50 years ago. A BBC correspondent in Beijing says so far the two sides have only been able to agree on the need to keep talking, but that in itself is a sign of progress in inter-Korean relations. The meeting was made possible after the release of a South Korean tourist held by the North for allegedly trying to persuade a North Korean tour guide to defect. The South Korean Prime Minister Kim Jong-pil has said his government will suspend fertilizer aid and tourist trips to North Korea until the security and safety of visiting South Koreans could be guaranteed. Please.
Well, it looks as though sharks may look as though they could look after themselves, but the Australian state of New South Wales has just passed a law banning hunting for sharks.
Sharks, for so long the most feared creatures on Earth, now find themselves in need of protection. Great white and grey nurse sharks in particular have become so scarce, those hunting them in the waters of New South Wales face a jail sentence. Animal welfare groups say it's people who deserve a reputation for mass killing.
About 70 to 100 million sharks are killed a year by humans, and only about 7 humans are killed a year by sharks. Ya, Pahong? Ya, bagus. Ya?
This is why so many sharks are being killed for their fins. Throughout Australian waters, the authorities are determined to stop the illegal trade. The fins are a much sought-after delicacy in Asia, used in Chinese shark fin soup.
We have 2 suspect Indonesian Type 2 vessels, therefore, hands to boarding stations, hands to boarding stations.
It is a military operation. Patrol boats tracking illegal fishing boats, mainly from Indonesia.
Someone just grab me a pistol, please.
The stakes are high. Shark fins can fetch around 200 pounds a kilo. For many impoverished Indonesian fishermen, the temptation is too much to resist. This captain tried to hide the evidence, but a search soon found the catch.
The master's told us, after initially telling us he had no catch on board, obviously he lied. He then told us that all of this fin has been caught at least 10 days ago or more. By touching some of it, I can disprove that just by feel.
The sharks, stripped of their fins, are usually left to flounder to a long, lingering death.
It's distressing to see a shark, obviously gone through a lot of pain and distress, and in that situation, and as I say, I think that's the ultimate obscenity.
Such is the concern for the welfare of the shark, the divers are now volunteering to dive in areas which have been traditionally shark-infested, risking everything to complete a survey to find out just how many sharks are really left. Michael Peshart, BBC News, Sydney.
You're watching BBC News. A brief apology for those of you who have just joined the programme. This is BBC News from Westminster. That's because within the last hour and a half or so, building workers in West London have found what's believed to be an unexploded Second World War bomb on a building site opposite the BBC News Centre at Television Centre in Wood Lane in Shepherd's Bush. As a result, Hammersmith police have sealed off the area and they have evacuated all the premises within a 400-metre radius of the suspected bomb, and that means that thousands of BBC technicians and journalistic staff have been evacuated, ourselves included, and we are hoping to bring you more details on that particular story through the morning, and we are planning to resume our regular scheduling as soon as we can. For now, this is BBC News from Westminster with me, Clarence Mitchell, and Lise Doucette. Lise.
Thank you, Clarence. And now back to our main news at this hour. A group of 39 Russian peacekeepers, the first of an expected 3,600 troops to be dispatched over the next few weeks, departed for Kosovo on Saturday, according to Russian news agency. We have this report from our correspondent Paul Royal.
Protesters in Pristina want the release of Kosovo's political prisoners. These demonstrators claimed more than 2,000 were moved out of the province by the Serbs just before NATO rolled in.
This protest is for the persons who are in prison, who has been in prison in Kosovo, and in this moment they are in prison in Serbia.
But it's a quest for justice in a place which still has a serious control problem. Liberation has not prevented looting or stopped the violence, and again some of the returning Kosovo Albanians stand accused. KFOR has told the Serbian population to have faith in them. What may reassure them more is the sight of the first contingent of Russian peacekeeping soldiers. They'll fly to Pristina airport today, a place closed since Moscow made its dash to Kosovo 2 weeks ago. Yugoslavia's state of war is also officially lifted today, but some of those involved in the conflict are not making the aftermath easy for President Milosevic. They want what they're owed, and as internal pressure builds up on Belgrade, Washington has made it clear what it thinks are the choices facing the people there.
They're going to have to decide whether they support his leadership or not, whether they think it's okay that all those tens of thousands of people were killed and all those hundreds of thousands of people were run out of their homes and all those little girls were raped and all those little boys were murdered. They're going to have to decide if they think that is okay. And if they think it's okay, they can make that decision, but I wouldn't give them 1 red cent for reconstruction if they think it's okay, because I don't think it's okay, and I don't think that's the world we're trying to build for our children.
Kosovo's immediate future looks tough. A stable, secure and revitalised environment still appears a long way off. Paul Royal, BBC News.
Good morning from BBC News in Westminster. BBC News is being transmitted from here temporarily because building workers in West London have found what's believed to be an unexploded bomb buried on a building site close to the BBC's main news centre in Shepherd's Bush. As a result, Hammersmith police have closed off the area and have evacuated all workers from buildings within a 400-metre radius, and that includes the BBC News Centre. Thousands of BBC staff, including journalists and technicians, have been moved out and are presently making their way to other locations. We are bringing you this emergency bulletin from BBC Westminster because of that unexploded bomb being found. And with me now is Andrew Bomford, one of our news correspondents. Andrew, like us, you were evacuated because of this. What can you tell us? What has been found? What is happening?
Well, shortly before 10 o'clock this morning, some building workers who are building a shopping centre just opposite TV Centre in West London found the tail fin of what looks like a huge German bomb just sort of sticking out of the ground. Experts have had a look at it. From the size of the tail fin, they think it could be about 500 pounds, possibly even bigger than that. One of the builders actually told me that he saw a Nazi swastika on just near the tail fin of the bomb itself. Now, obviously, the police had to evacuate the area immediately. The bomb squad are down there now. They're examining the device. They fear there could well be other devices nearby because it's known that during the war, this whole area was bombed very, very heavily by Luftwaffe, and so they're examining the area now. They've evacuated TV Centre, and that's why we're all here.
But basically, it has always been the authorities have always been aware that this was a potential bomb site, but I mean, it's just been concreted over since the war, hasn't it? And it's been a car park, a lorry park, hasn't it?
That's right, yes. I mean, it's been pretty safe, I think, for all these years because there's been no work actually been going on deep in the ground where this bomb is. But they've been excavating the foundations for some time now, and obviously they've had to dig down quite some way. And this is where they found this particular bomb. And as they say, there are real fears there could be others around that area, and some pretty big ones too.
Clearly this is causing us, the BBC, a lot of problems this morning, but we're doing our best bringing the news to viewers here from Westminster. But what are the BBC saying? What are the BBC's plans to get back to normal programming as soon as possible?
Well, obviously from the BBC's point of view, they'd like to get back to normal as quickly as possible, and certainly apologising to viewers and to listeners on BBC Radio for any interruptions to programmes that have inevitably occurred. But the news bulletins are going on as much as possible on BBC One. News 24 is continuing to operate, and certainly on radio they're trying to get the news over to listeners as quickly as possible.
Andrew Bomford, many thanks indeed for that. And as Andrew was saying, we are planning to get back to regular programming as soon as possible. But for now, all BBC News output is coming to you from the BBC studios here in Westminster. Lise.
Thank you, Clarence. In Belgium, 100 school children have been taken to hospital in Antwerp suffering from food poisoning. It's thought that beef might be the cause. The Belgian government has ordered shops to clear their shelves of all beef products. More on this in a moment. Other news now, and President Clinton has warned that time is running out for the peace process in Northern Ireland. Last night, Tony Blair and the Irish Prime Minister Bertie Ahern said there had been some progress in breaking the deadlock over the handing in of terrorist weapons. Consultations between the main parties are expected to go on all weekend. The first groups of Russian peacekeeping troops will arrive in Kosovo this weekend to join the international force deployed there. They'll fly into the airport at Kosovo's capital, Pristina, which is already occupied by Russian forces. Yesterday, the Russian parliament approved the deployment of more than 3,500 troops in Kosovo. And now we have all the news making in the world of sport with Nigel Gainsborough.
Thanks very much, Liz. Well, we begin with rugby, where England have just begun the centenary test match against Australia in Sydney. The national anthems went off okay, but it didn't take long for the match to get a little heated. It all calmed down, though. So far, though, it's 0-0 approaching half-time. Well, this afternoon, Wales take on the world champions South Africa in Cardiff. They've never beaten South Africa, and when they met a year ago, they suffered a record 96-13 defeat in South Africa. The match will take place in the Millennium Stadium, which is still only half built.
To rebuilding, their team sported an under construction sign for most of the 90s, but now it's their supporters who may have to don the hard hats at the as yet unfinished Millennium Stadium. The Springboks, though, have been busy drilling in a slightly different sense, and despite notching up a century against Italy, they know they're facing the Northern Hemisphere's form horses.
It's actually now, as I said, 4 or 5 games in a row where they've been winning. They've got a winning culture and a lot of confidence and a belief in themselves. And, it's fantastic for Welsh rugby.
Back in November, the South Africans were all at sea during an inspired Welsh first half at Wembley. At the Millennium Stadium, it could be the Springboks who are finally made to walk the plank. Andy Swiss, BBC News.
Well, Tim Henman and Greg Rosetsky will take a rest at Wimbledon today, but another crowd favourite, Boris Becker, will be first up on centre court. He faces a tough battle against the highly rated Australian newcomer Leighton Hewitt. And the 16-year-old conqueror of Martina Hingis, Elena Doxic, is also in action against Anne Kramer.
Boris Becker is hoping to make it to the second week of the tournament. He won his grudge match against Nicholas Kiefer. Now he faces the talented youngster Leighton Hewitt. But the 3-time champion knows SW19 better than most.
I still feel obviously very much at home on it, very comfortable on it. It was a great moment for me stepping out on the court. I thank the people, who put players here on the course that they put me on the centre court.
Another man who can say he feels at home here is Andre Agassi. The number 4 seed plays Alberto Martin on court 1. He's always been adored by the fans. It's something the 1992 champion says he will never take for granted.
It's extraordinary, it's something I never expect, but something I certainly don't take for granted, something I appreciate very much.
Following Agassi's match will be reigning women's champion Jana Novotná, who plays Maria Antonia Sanchez-Lorenzo. A future champion in the making is surely Elena Dokic, conqueror of world #1 Martina Hingis in the first round. The 16-year-old had a shaky 3-set match against Katerina Studenikova, but she'll be back on centre court later today against Anne Kremer. Katie Booth, BBC News.
And finally, qualifying is underway for the French Grand Prix in Manicourt. We'll tell you what happened in half an hour. An hour, in fact. Lisa.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Sport still goes on despite the fact that we've gone into emergency programming from Brussels. A reminder of news that has just broken in this hour. 100 school children have been taken to hospital in Antwerp suffering from food poisoning, according to a Belgian government spokesman. Beef is suspected to be the main cause of the poisoning. The Belgian government has ordered retailers to clear their shelves of all beef products. Our correspondent in Brussels is Joe Flo.
We believe around 10 are in a serious state and are being treated in intensive care.
And does it seem clear that it is beef that has caused this poisoning?
Well, once again, the Belgian government here aren't saying exactly what caused the beef. They say they don't know yet, but these children were at a school barbecue in the town of Antwerp, and it does appear that the main item at that barbecue was beef. So as a precaution, the Belgian government has ordered all shops to strip their shelves of any beef product at all.
It's not looking very good for Belgium, is it indeed? This is the third very important food scare in less than a month.
That's right, the third food crisis in as many weeks, really. Last week we had the Coca-Cola scandal when children, once again in northern Belgium, were taken to hospital after drinking cans of Coca-Cola and other soft drinks. And the week before that we had the revelation that chicken and dairy products had been contaminated with a cancer-causing chemical, dioxin. That crisis almost brought down the government and is thought to have led to the demise of Jean-Luc Dehaene, the Belgian Prime Minister. So
what do we expect to be the political impact of this latest scandal then?
Well, this scandal is hitting the new government that's just taken office. They're going to have to completely reassess the food safety situation in Belgium. Last week at the G8 summit in Cologne, we had a call for a worldwide food safety agency. Belgium is thought to be supporting that move, but at the moment they need to look at their domestic situation with a matter of urgency.
The governments across Europe have already expressed concern about these food scandals in Belgium. Have we had any reaction yet from across Europe?
Well, the French are thought to be about to announce a ban on Belgian beef products in their supermarkets. You'll remember they were very quick to ban Coca-Cola as soon as that scandal hit Belgium. And we're thought to be getting some kind of emergency reaction from the European Commission. They're thought to be meeting in the next couple of hours to decide exactly what action to take on a Europe-wide basis.
Joe Flo, our correspondent in Brussels, with an update of the latest food scandal to hit Brussels. With me here in the studio to discuss this latest development is Shirley Bassey. She's a food safety expert. 100 school children taken to hospital. If beef is the cause, then we can't expect this to be localized. This would have a much wider impact across the country.
Absolutely. It's terrifying. In this particular I believe it might actually be a virus that's caused these children to collapse. It can actually lead to death, particularly in small children. In fact, I brought a bag of beef-flavoured hula hoops with me just to show me which are full, actually, of Belgian beef. I'm not sure.
Would it have been crisps that caused it, do you think?
Very possibly. I don't know if you'd like to try one, but perhaps we better not, given the circumstances. But no, it is a terrible, terrible thing, and it could be a major tragedy. I mean, we could be seeing thousands and thousands of children dying across Europe today.
And of course, how wide does Belgium export its beef? This could be something where, yet again, we're going to see the banning of all imports from Belgium?
Oh, absolutely, immediately. The European Union, I just heard before I came to you, has banned all beef. All beef must now be burned everywhere in Europe. I mean, this is a major, major, major disaster.
But something has gone very badly wrong in Belgium. 3 food scandals in less than a month.
Well, what hasn't gone wrong in Belgium recently? I mean, the government is now out. It's been accused of scandal after scandal. It's had a total disregard for its citizens, and frankly should be blown up.
And yet the different scandals are quite different. One of them was Coca-Cola, suggesting that something was wrong with that process, and this is now beef. Is there something wrong, a more systemic problem, or are these other isolated incidents which add up to a huge problem?
Yes, I think I think really it's just one major problem. It's a total lack of ability on the side of the government to do anything to maintain proper food standards.
Shirley Massey, British food expert, thank you for joining us today on BBC News.
Lise, thanks very much indeed. Just a reminder, if you've just joined us, you're watching BBC News being broadcast to you from the BBC studios in Westminster. That's because earlier this morning, building workers found what's believed to be a large unexploded World War II bomb buried in a building site just opposite the BBC's main news centre in Shepherd's Bush in West London. Thousands of BBC staff, ourselves included, have been evacuated, and we are bringing you emergency bulletins from the Westminster studios for now. BBC apologises for the disruption to programming, and we will be bringing you our regular news bulletins as soon as we can. But for now, some breaking news here in Britain. A major air and sea search has been launched off the coast of Lincolnshire for a 12-year-old schoolgirl who's believed to have been swept out to sea. That's according to Lincolnshire Police. The girl, who's not yet been named, was last seen shortly after 7 o'clock this morning when she left a boarding house in Cleethorpes, where she was on holiday with her parents. Well, I'm joined now by John Thorne, our North of England correspondent, who's in our Leeds studio. John, what's the latest? What can you tell us about what actually happened this morning?
Well, as we understand it now, Lincolnshire Police are gradually putting together the picture of the regular morning that this family spent. They're on their holidays, their annual holiday in Cleethorpes. It would appear that the girl, who's now being named as Sophie Slade, would come down and have breakfast with her parents at this guest house in Cleethorpes, and then her regular pattern was to go out for an early morning swim on her own. It would appear that she went to the beach this morning the usual way, around 7 o'clock or just before, and in fact didn't come back for well over an hour. Her parents raised the alarm. Lincolnshire Police have then got the whole emergency procedure going, and we now have a Royal Navy air sea rescue helicopter in the air. The Humber lifeboat has been alerted. We have some inshore rescue boats out, and they are combing this coastline, the North Sea coastline, off the Cleethorpes beach.
John, what are weather conditions like at the moment? Clearly it's been a few hours now, but are weather conditions favourable for this sort of search?
Well, favourable, no, in that there are strong winds coming off the flat Lincolnshire coast, and also we have a falling tide rushing down the Humber estuary. It suggested that Sophie was in the habit of taking with her a lilo, and what police are afraid of is that she in fact went out on that lilo and it will have been caught both by the wind and by the tide. These sort of incidents have happened in previous years. Lincolnshire Police and the Royal Navy, of course, have that experience of going out searching, but they will have to comb scores, if not hundreds, of square miles of that estuary North Sea junction and move down the coast, and that's what they're doing at the moment.
John Thorne in our Leeds studio. We'll come back to you, of course, if there are any developments in the next few minutes. Thanks very much. Lise.
President Clinton has appealed to political leaders in Northern Ireland to resolve their differences and prevent the peace process from falling apart. Speaking in Washington, Mr. Clinton said he was ready to do anything necessary to save the Good Friday Agreement. The parties are struggling to reach agreement on the decommissioning of arms. Conditions which were put forward in the Good Friday Agreement last April have to be reached by Wednesday.
Tony Blair and Bertie Ahern are hopeful that their intervention has made it clear to the party leaders involved in the talks that the next few days are crucial if the peace process is to be taken forward. Wednesday's deadline is absolute to clear the way for the formation of a power-sharing executive. President Clinton has offered to do anything he can to help save the agreement. He's also aware of just how much is at stake.
This is a very serious period, and I do not want to say anything that would make it worse. And in the days ahead, I intend to do whatever anybody thinks I can do to save it. But I hope and pray it will be saved, because the Good Friday Accords were good when the people voted for them. They're good today. And the differences, though they are profound, are as nothing compared to the cost of losing it.
As the deadline approaches, the annual marching season provides an opportunity for those opposed to the agreement to express their anger. Unionists believe it has sold their birthright. The annual White Rock Parade in West Belfast later today is a potential flashpoint. Last year there were serious disturbances when protesters, including IRA members, clashed with police. The crucial obstacle in the way of peace is decommissioning. The Ulster Unionists say there's no question of bringing Sinn Féin into an Assembly executive until the party has turned its back on violence and demonstrated that by its actions.
I think that it's true that the broad opinion now within the party is very firmly fixed on the belief that we have to have a credible beginning to the process of decommissioning before Sinn Féin IRA can be admitted to the government of Northern Ireland.
Securing a peaceful future for the children of Northern Ireland should be the prime objective, according to the Prime Minister, of next week's talks. But many people are pessimistic that a resolution can be reached that quickly, given the entrenched positions of those involved. Lucy Atherton, BBC News.
You're watching BBC News, being broadcast to you from our Westminster studios because our main news centre at BBC Television Centre in West London has been evacuated following the discovery by building workers of what's thought to be a large unexploded World War II bomb. There will be a full bulletin of news at the top of the hour, but for now let's take a look at the latest edition of Correspondent.
BBC. Reporting from Kuala Lumpur. Reporting from Moscow. Reporting from Cape Town.
Reporting from Washington.
Reporting from Phnom Penh.
Reporting for the BBC.
When the British pulled out of India 50 years ago, the subcontinent inherited some sturdy institutions, not least a gaggle of Indian Army regiments steeped in traditions of the Raj. The author and journalist Edward Baer served with the Garhwal Rifles until partition. He has been back visiting his old Himalayan regiment to see how it has changed in the years since independence.
These Himalayan mountain peaks are part of Garhwal province in northern India. Tibet is only 150 miles away. We're in Lansdowne, a hilltop enclave surrounded by deep valleys and spectacular ravines. But Garhwal is also famous for something else, its soldiers. The Garhwal Rifles is the most sought-after regiment in the Indian Army, with an impressive list of gallantry awards, including 2 Victoria Crosses. Lansdowne is their regimental centre. I returned to Lansdowne at the invitation of its commandant to lay a wreath at the Garhwalis War Memorial and see for myself how the regiment has changed since I served with its 1st Battalion 50 years ago. It hasn't much. Though no longer royal, the distinctive red shoulder lanyard is still worn, and buildings still bear the names of long-dead British officers. Commands are in Hindi, but the ceremonial rituals remain the same. Looking down on the huge parade ground carved out of the mountainside, the only level surface at the height of 5,900 feet, I feel I'm in a nostalgic time warp. It had been an exceptionally Kipling-esque setting when I first came here as a second lieutenant in 1945, and it still is. Brigadier AIS Dillon, the commandant, is my guide. The Garhwali Officers' Mess, a monument to the taxidermist's art, is considered the finest in India.
Well, I'm sure you'll agree there's a lot of improvement since you left.
It seems exactly as I remembered it.
Come sit down. So let me find that picture and maybe you can spot yourself somewhere.
No, I'm not in those, but I am here. This is...
I have a magnifying glass, if you wish.
This is me.
You're looking very young there.
I was 18.
Right.
A very young man in a very new bush hat.
this mess reflects the evolution of the regiment. So it's not really the past. We can't ignore our past. The past, our record in the past, are our strength. And therefore, we feel that though we must modernize, at the same time, we cherish our fine past.
With better incentives in today's market-oriented India, some units face recruiting problems, but not the Garhwal Rifles, where only 1 in 20 applicants is accepted for training. Many are second, third, and even fourth generation riflemen. In my day, in addition to normal leave, some of them got up to 45 walking days to get to their villages and back. With Garhwal's network of new roads, maximum travelling time is now 3 days. Recruits are far taller than in the past and also more literate. The British preferred to recruit Garhwalis exclusively from the remotest mountain districts. After basic training, they're posted to one of the regiment's 15 battalions. At the height of the Second World War, there were only 5. All the Gallantry Award holders' names since the regiment's creation are enshrined in 4 huts of valor. They underline one fundamental difference, that after the Pakistan Wars and the ill-advised Sri Lanka expedition, India's conflicts today are within her own borders.
Now this is the post-independence
in places like Assam, Jammu, Kashmir, Mizoram and Nagaland, not forgetting the assault on the Golden Temple in Amritsar in 1984.
That must have been a very different kind of adjustment to make to a prestigious regiment like the Garhwalis.
You're very true. Unconventional wars, or low-intensity conflicts as they call them today, they definitely have their own peculiar problems, particularly in our case, where we are often waging this conflict against misled elements of our own country. It does take its toll. Such long-drawn conflicts, there are casualties, but they are such casualties which we can manage.
Before independence, the ritual guest night ceremony in the mess involved a toast to the King Emperor.
Regiment.
This too has changed. But the pipers still put in an appearance, playing the Sky Boat Song. In 1945, on Ramri Island in Burma, the 1st Battalion of the Garhwal Rifles went into battle to the sound of these same bagpipes. One less visible British tradition is this. The Garhwal Rifles, like the rest of the Indian Army, is proud of its apolitical role and unquestioning obedience to a democratically elected civilian government. In my day, it would have been unthinkable for British officers to take part in Hindu religious rituals. But the commemoration of Shivaratri, a major Hindu feast, is used to teach this all-Hindu regiment about their religion. Learning about the mythic Hindu couple Shiva and Parvati is all part of regimental indoctrination. The Garhwali battle cry itself calls on the gods of the temple of Badrinath, Garhwal's holiest shrine. Though a Sikh, Brigadier Dillon takes a leading part in these proceedings, as did one of his predecessors, a Muslim. It's perhaps the most important difference I noted, an example of ecumenical tolerance that the rest of India would do well to follow.
Well, I thought I'd start by starting to look at the weather down in Glastonbury. Today, I think a bright start, but then some showers later on, and quite a high possibility later on this afternoon through this evening, and seeing the odd rumble of thunder as well. It will be quite warm. It'll stay warm through the night as well. Unfortunately, it'll also be wet for camping out, but tomorrow I think we're going to be seeing a fair few showers and somewhat fresher conditions with highs of 19 Celsius. It's currently around 18 Celsius outside in Manchester. It was beautiful and sunny this morning. It's still looking pretty good, although a lot of high cirrus cloud now filtering in. It's non-threatening at the moment, but we will see some showers later on here this afternoon. It's low pressure coming in from the Atlantic. It holds these frontal systems already pushing in some outbreaks of rain to the west of Ireland. Low pressure down toward the southwest of England as well is just starting to push some thunderstorms across the English Channel from northwestern parts of France. That sets the scene for today. Into tomorrow, again, it's a very messy picture. Showers, longer spells of rain, all moving eastwards behind somewhat fresher conditions. A return to some brightness, but again, a fair few showers as well. Let's have a look at that rain situation. It's actually approaching the western coast of Ireland just at the moment. Some fairly heavy bursts coming into the northwest, into the southwest as well. Right down into the southwest of England, you can just make out those spots of rain. There's some thunderstorms perilously close towards the southwest of England. They're going to be making an entrance later on this morning and through the lunchtime period. Elsewhere, it's pretty fine, dry and bright, it has to be said, with some good spells of sunshine through Aberdeenshire, Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, right down towards the Kent coast. And essentially, we should stay with a lot of brightness, dry and clear weather through much of the afternoon as well. But that rain already making its presence felt out towards the west of Ireland will continue its track gradually eastwards. Showers, longer spells of rain, and increasing chance of hearing the odd rumble of thunder away to the southwest, turning increasingly misty and murky down towards those English Channel coastlines for this afternoon and through the evening as well. So that rain and showers gradually pushes eastwards through this evening. With any chance, though, with any luck, it should stay really quite sunny out towards the northeast tip of Scotland there. And down those North Sea coasts again, you'll have the best of the day's sunshine. Temperature-wise, it's still very locally warm in the southeast, 25, possibly even 26 Celsius. If you're going to Wimbledon, you really will need your high-factor sun lotion and a short-sleeve shirt as well. But elsewhere, out towards the west, as the cloud and rain piles in, we are going to see those temperatures a little lower, 18 to 21 through Ireland. More details in half an hour.
A 100 Belgian children are in hospital with food poisoning. Belgium's government has withdrawn all beef products from sale. The Irish peace talks enter a critical phase. A suspected bomb has been found at BBC premises in London, and the end for duty-free at last. Good afternoon from BBC Westminster. The Belgian government has withdrawn all beef products from sale after 100 schoolchildren were taken ill. The children were taken to hospital in Antwerp and are now being treated for food poisoning. Belgian ministers say beef is the most likely cause. I'm joined from Brussels now by our correspondent, Joe Floto. Joining me here, and we hope to go to that interview shortly, but with me now in London, here in our studios in Westminster, is Professor Hugh Pennington, an expert who's become well known for his dealing with food poisoning and who's also advised the government over the BSE crisis. Professor Pennington, thank you for coming in. This latest outbreak in Belgium seems to be suffering very badly at the moment, but Is this something we should be concerned about here, given our whole history with the beef crisis?
Yes, it's obviously very worrying, but the one thing we can say is, given that we've had the BSE crisis and the Listeria crisis beforehand, we've started introducing the kind of policies that hopefully will prevent this kind of thing happening here. The trouble on the continent was that they didn't take it as seriously as we did, and therefore they seem to be being caught out now, several years after we had all our problems.
So are you saying that, although we've been down this road, beef in British schools, if it's being served, is essentially safe?
Yes, it should be. I mean, people should take sensible precautions. Any parents who are worried, of course, should make it clear that they don't want their children to eat beef. But at the moment, we don't know what the cause of this outbreak in Brussels is, or in Belgium, and therefore it would be far too early to jump to any conclusions. All I can say is we have introduced policies in this country which we are sure have taken away the risks that were associated with BSE and Listeria, and we see no reason to change our guidelines at the moment.